We are facing some truly devastating times. It is harder than ever to keep ourselves mentally tough as emotions run high and as chaos ensues around us. Today, we're turning our focus to the world of sports because when it comes to athletes, having mental strength is just as important as it is to have physical fitness on your side. Today, I've brought along founding partner of Freedom Sports and Entertainment, Freedom Business Ventures, sports management executive Mark Washo, also owner of Geneva, New York's Red Wings, and strength trainer Dave Herbst, and world champion, world boxing champion, Charles the Natural Murray. Very excited to have these guys on here and to have some conversation. My name's Amanda Ashley, and this is Afternoon Cocktail, episode 25, Mental Toughness. Welcome. Mark Washo, are you with us?
I almost forgot to unmute, just did. How are you? Thanks for having me, Amanda.
I'm excellent. Welcome. Thank you for being a part of our show. So, Mark, tell us a little bit about you, your background, what brought you into the world of sports.
Okay, well, I always have this saying. I try to do the Chris Berman ESPN 2-minute drill because sadly, the older I get and the more experiences I have, the longer it might take. But just quick summary, yes, I've been in the sports business world for probably 28 plus years now or so. I got my start right here in Western New York for Bison Baseball, the Buffalo Bisons AAA baseball club, and kind of had a long-standing career. A lot of it being in the professional soccer world, Major League Soccer, with 3 teams. But I also was with 2 different women's professional soccer teams, including the Freedom, where we had Abby Wambach, Rochester's own, on the club as well. And, I got into sports business because when I was graduating college, and I remember it was deep in my senior year, I was like, okay, what do I want to do? I love music. But unlike you, Amanda, I'm not very musically inclined, and I love sports. And I was like, well, if I'm going to work for a living, maybe I'll go do something that I really love and enjoy. So I kind of tried to get into sports initially. It wasn't very successful, but it was always kind of on the back of my mind. And I got a really lucky break when I was living in Buffalo, working out of sports to get that opportunity with Bison Baseball. And I always thought it was one of those fun jobs that would be nice, young in your career. And then go, at some point you got to go get a real job because a lot of us that work in the industry, you don't make a lot of money when you start off. But then as my career started growing and Major League Soccer started growing in America and the sports landscape kept changing, I kept getting promotional opportunities and opportunities to grow and expand my career. And lo and behold, I stayed in it. And so it's been a great journey and ride. I've had a chance to meet all kinds of amazing athletes, pretty much all the great ones at this point in time. And that's kind of as quick as I can give the background on my summary and kind of why I decided to get into sports to begin with.
So, Mark, you and I have Fredonia in common. I'm a Fredonia graduate.
Oh,
So
yes.
you
Um,
actually coach there, correct? Or
I actually just taught there this past semester. I was able to be an adjunct professor in their sports management program, which is something I've been teaching for about 9 years now. And I started off in the Georgetown SIM program, which is their master's program. And
okay.
as I moved away from the DC area and relocated back here to Rochester, I wasn't able to continue teaching as I had when I was in DC. So this last semester, I kind of went down and guest spoke at Fredonia for a little while. And just one thing led to the next. And they said, hey, we're looking for somebody to help us in the sports management area. So I went back to my alma mater, as the saying goes, and taught a sports management course. And it was very surreal because I never thought in a million years, fast forward 28 plus years after I graduated, that I'd be walking on campus teaching a sports management class. But yeah, I went 2 hours back and forth 1 day a week. Luckily, the class was in the evening. But I did go during the middle of winter, so of course I hit some snowstorms on the way to and from. But it was really great experience. It was nice to be able to kind of connect back to the students through my sports management experiences.
Sure, how cool. So, I mean, you're an author. I mean, you've worn many hats. So, like, I was having I wrote you earlier. I'm having a hard time like trying to narrow down how to introduce you because I mean, you've done so much. I mean, let's talk about your book. So, you wrote a book called "Break into Sports Through Ticket Sales." Selling tickets, I know, is not an easy task. Just for selling for concerts. I mean, how did you master the art of ticket sales, and what was the most valuable takeaway you had from your experience?
Sure, and I have a show prop right here.
Hey, there it is.
I noticed you have a cocktail going, so it does double as a nice coaster,
There you go.
just so you know. um,
I have more
so
respect for books than that, Mark.
no, thank you. Yeah, I did not initially start off with the intent of writing a book, nor did I consider myself to be an author or a great writer. But what kind of happened was I was working for the New York, New Jersey Metro Stars. They're now called Red Bull New York. We were playing at a giant stadium, and we decided that we were needed to greatly expand and enhance our outbound ticket sales team, which at the time was kind of just really gaining momentum in the sports industry as a whole. Meaning teams realized, hey, if we're going to fill these stadiums, and we had an 80,000 seat stadium, we're like, we need to get more people, account executives, to go out and develop professional business relationships as it relates to selling tickets. So as I was in the process of trying to recruit students, sports management graduates, and at that time, sports management really wasn't that popular in colleges like it is now. There's over 300 plus programs, but back then there were only a handful of programs. But as I was interviewing these students for this position, they were like, well, I want to be in marketing. I want to be in PR. I want to be in customer service. And no one was saying they wanted to be in ticket sales. They didn't want to be in sales in general. And then as I started asking about what they were learning in these sports management courses, no one was talking about sales and ticket sales and sponsorship sales. I'm like, well, meanwhile, that's where all the jobs are. There's like 50 jobs in ticket sales and sponsorship selling compared to one or two jobs in PR and marketing and all the other, I guess, quote unquote, glamorous positions. So my initial intent was to write an article to the Sports Business Journal because I was like, somebody needs to kind of just tell this little story and say, hey, sports management programs, you should kind of teach or at least have some courses that are related to where the positions are. And that happens to be in ticket sales. And to answer the second quick part of that question is you had asked, how did I come to master ticket selling? My very first job out of school was with an insurance company where I learned how just the blocking and tackling and fundamentals of selling. I did not like the product that I was selling or the service, but I did learn how to sell. So when I went to Bison Baseball and I started selling something that I really loved and believed in, I was just really successful right out of the gate. So when I kind of was starting in my early career, when I went down to the Wizards, the NBA team, I was in an inside sales department with 50 other inside sales representatives. And I got hired into the full-time department within the first 3 months because I just kind of went in there. I focused. I did what I knew how to do from Bison Baseball. Other people were zipping around paper airplanes and throwing spitballs like a classroom because we had a lot of recent college grads in there. And I guess they thought I was the dorky nerd that just didn't care much about the social stuff, but I wanted that full-time job and I wanted to be successful. So I just kind of had success early on. It happened to be in ticket selling, and it happened to be part of the industry that was really important and really essential. And so therefore I was like, okay, I don't know if I'm an expert or not in this subject, but as I started writing that article, it just kind of started flowing out of me, and and it turned into a book, and self-published it because I couldn't find a publisher that was interested. And present moment, I still sell 10, 15 copies a month on Amazon, and sports management professors use it across the country. And it's opened a lot of doors for me as well professionally. So it's been one of those really unexpected endeavors. And again, did not start out to write a book at all. So it's been really
Yeah,
interesting.
amazing though. I mean, that's just where life took you, the path life took you down at that point in time, and I'm glad it's worked out for you. That's great that it's being used, with in coaching others, and in that field. So, I mean, also you spent time as chief business officer of Marina Stadium for the Rochester Rhinos. So now, what happened with that with the Rhinos? They pretty much abandoned that stadium, correct?
Yeah, and I know today's topic is mental toughness, and
Yeah.
uh, all my professional experiences along the way, especially anybody working in sports, knows that you need to be mentally tough, not only as an athlete or professional player, but clearly working in the front office, especially in a sales capacity and business development. And that would be a whole different maybe potential show in and of itself. But I would say, in summary, it was one of those situations, I think, where we there was a big storied history and past with the Rochester Rhinos, and some of those that are from the community remember the Frontier Field days and back when the Rhinos first launched. It was in conjunction with when Major League Soccer first launched, and I wasn't living here in Rochester at the time, but was working for DC United. So everybody always knew what was kind of happening here in Rochester, and they called it Soccer Town USA at one point. And at one point, this market was a shoe-in to get a Major League Soccer team, probably the first Major League team in a minor league sports town like Rochester. So when we kind of relaunched, I guess the whole brand experience back in 2016, 2017, and USL was a newer league, and there's been a whole bunch of leagues in soccer, and we won't go into that detail either. But I think there were some expectations early on that the floodgates would open back up and tens of thousands of people would start coming back to the stadium. And as much as I've had experience in professional soccer, I mean, I hadn't been back in the market in a long time, but I knew it was going to be, it would be different. It would take time to build. It would take time to rebuild. And there was just a lot of years of things just away, and then you kind of throw in the stadium location, and some folks from suburbanite, Rochester, were hesitant about going down. And so a lot of different factors went into the financial situation being way more difficult than I think the owners expected. And as a result, it just kind of created an environment where, as much as we started gaining a lot of traction, a lot of momentum, it became a place to be. The crowds were getting better. By all business metrics, we were upticking. Sponsorship was stronger, but we still had a gap that was just really big to close. And, at some point, the reality of the financial side of the picture comes into play. And so therefore we went on a kind of a mission to try to get more public support, both from the private sector as well as the public sector. And just for like, hey, we just can't be doing this alone. Our organization, kind of pulling against all these tides, I suppose. And, we got support. We did get a lot of people coming in, but, like anything, it kind of wasn't enough. So at the end of 2018 season, our owners decided to kind of negotiate out of a lease that we had previously negotiated. And the team ceased operations at the end of the 2017 season. And therefore it's kind of in a status dormant scenario, but it hasn't closed down all the way. They still operate a youth academy and programs, and the owners still own the rights to the USL franchise. So like anything, there's always that idea and thought that it could be re-energized, reinvigorated, and kind of relaunched at a time down the road.
Yeah, that's such a shame. That's a really beautiful stadium too. Like, I've actually had one of my worst musical experiences there, singing the national anthem. That big delay going back and forth. Oh my God, it was humiliating. But I mean, beautiful, beautiful place. Like, I hope it gets put to use, by somebody. Weren't the Lancers trying to do something there, or am I mistaken?
Yep. The Rochester Lancers did play there in 2018. We had 4 USL matches with Toronto FC2 that came and played. We hosted a whole slew of community events. But I can tell you that the city has since taken over the operations of the stadium. I did not too long ago, just to happen to be in the neighborhood and wanted to see how things were going. And the stadium's in pretty good condition right now. They revitalized the offices. They're really looking to use it at the moment as a community hub. So the inner city and the high schools and the youth kids can kind of use it as a multi-purpose facility where there'll be basketball courts, indoor soccer, and then of course the main field. And I think you'll see a lot of effort around really trying to make sure that stays a vibrant part of the city versus kind of something that just gets overgrown by weeds and ends up, being one of those stadiums you got to demolish at some point. So I think there's an effort by the city to kind of keep that going and try to keep it be an active part of the community, which I thought was really nice to see. And in some ways, it's a great stadium. I mean, a lot of communities around the country would be envious of that stadium for sure.
Sure, yeah.
Because a lot of them are playing in stadiums as nice, and some of the luxury premium suite areas you would hold right up against other Major League Soccer stadiums around the country, including that video board. Even though there's that crazy delay,
Yeah.
it's that was more or less brand new 3 years ago, so it's pretty good.
Yeah, well, I hope to see it get, used because yeah, it's such a shame. So you talked about mental toughness, professionally. I mean, how about, the, our country's spiraling out of control. It's really difficult to even turn on the TV these days. I know I feel that way. How do you keep yourself mentally sound and your mind positively focused, during these times?
Uh, yeah, that's a great question, and I know you have other guests that are going to comment as well on this topic because it's a no, it's been a really difficult time. I mean, you have the coronavirus outbreak, which we were all dealing with and we're still dealing with, even though in many ways some people, it seems like some folks have things that maybe it's passed a little bit, but it's still out there. And then obviously everything that just happened as it relates to the racial unrest and what happened with police brutality and all that. And it's a very difficult, challenging time. And I think it was difficult for sports teams and athletes to figure out how to kind of pivot, as the saying goes. I mean, these teams went from playing in full venues and stadiums and launching, new seasons and having their postseasons be canceled, and that was already extremely challenging. And then all of a sudden, you have all everything else that's kind of happening in the society with all the unrest at the moment, and it's tough. But I have seen sports teams and athletes get more vocal as of late and really try to understand the core issues. And I think at some point you got to find that happy ground and happy medium and try to bring everybody together and unite the community. And sports can do that like no other. And when I had on my little podcast show that I have, I had the former president from the Houston Dynamo on. He talked a lot about how sports can really help heal and help with social issues. Like, for example, the Sandy Hook shootings that happen, and when hurricanes and natural disasters strike, the Rochester Red Wings current day are trying to do a lot of things to give back to the community and support first responders and doctors and nurses. And so they have that, that platform of which they can really help change. And I think that's mostly what people are looking for right now is, okay, it's great to post on Facebook, great to put something on Twitter. But what are you really, what's everyone really going to do about it? And I think that's where professional sports can really help drive real change versus, again, just putting something up on social media. So I think you're going to see it really shift. And but you still have the coronavirus issue circulating around. I think that's still a real issue for sports present moment as well, as it is live entertainment, as you know, and music.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you mentioned your podcast. I mean, let's talk a little bit about this. I mean, like me, like you pretty much, once the pandemic hit, you put together a podcast show. It's called Freedom Sports Biz. And I mean, I mentioned this to you earlier. I mean, it seems to be right in your wheelhouse. I mean, you have a lot of marketing experience. You're very personable. I mean, it seems to combine your personality with your passion. Can you tell us a little bit more about your show and what you're doing?
Yeah, no, thank you for asking about that. And Amanda, you'd be a great reciprocal guest. So we'll put some space between these discussions, and it'll be interesting to see how things are happening in 2-3 months down the road for sure. But the truth on that one is I've done my share of media appearances, TV, radio across being in professional sports. And I didn't really set out to be any type of podcast or anything. And obviously there's a huge movement because a lot of people are doing it now.
Sure.
But it was, I just have a relationship with a Rock Fox podcast studio, not too far from where I live. I know the owner. We had talked about maybe doing some things before all this crazy things that started happening. And I just felt as I was kind of, pent up and we were all sheltering in place, and, just you want to stay visible, you want to stay active. I feel like my experiences professionally, I can draw upon a lot of those things. And I think I mentioned to you real quick pre-show that my first guest was he's the president of the Houston World Cup committee, but we also worked together at the Metro Stars, and we were there during 9/11. And in so many ways, this felt just like what happened at 9/11 and all the experiences we went through there. And I was like, okay, we could share these experiences and what better platform than to kind of put something out there on a podcast form. And then just kind of just people in my network and people I know, the guests just kind of started coming. And I've got 5 or 6 people that have already outreached to me that I'm like, okay, well, we'll get it all in. So I literally just did it, zero strategy, zero real thought process behind it other than, hey, I got a studio I can use. It's close to where I am at. It creates an environment where I could, keep things visible. And then for me, I always want to give back, not only to the sports community and sports business, but that's why I just named it Freedom Biz Now, where it's not just sports business related, because there's also a greater landscape, in business in general, and in particular, Rochester in general. I mean, I grew up here, even though I was gone for 28 years, I still really love and believe in this community, and I want to support this community. And if I could provide a platform for guys like Fairport Brewing and Agnes Wines to tell their story and what they're doing during this time, and the Rochester Red Wings, then I just kind of want to be part of it. So it comes from that place, and we'll see where it goes. And like I said, zero strategy behind it current moment, which probably goes against everything in business, but that's okay. So.
Well, you have me fooled because I mean, you look like you know exactly what you're doing. Like I've watched a few. I've watched 2. I watched the one recently with the Red Wings, Rochester Red Wings owner, and yeah, just seeing your clips and stuff. Like I mean, you're doing a great job. And the one thing about Rochester community, and what makes me so sad about this whole COVID-19 is we're such a community that thrives on the support of local business, and everybody, I mean, for the most part, really supports one another, and you're continuing to do that. So I thank you, and I think we all need to do that, especially during a time right now where local businesses need that support more than ever. So when can our audience tune into your podcast and check out you a little bit more about you?
Yeah. So I don't have a scheduled or set time, which you've done way better job than me on that. I think what I try to do is just be a little bit opportunistic and just kind of pace it out. But I do share it on just my, I guess my business Facebook page, which is just M Washo Biz. I do have a YouTube channel as well, which is Freedom Sports Entertainment. And I'm going to host a podcast next Tuesday. I'm actually excited about my next guest. Her name is Breland Moore. She was a News 10 sports reporter and anchor. And she went from small town Rochester, and she was even in a smaller town before she came here in Allentown, Pennsylvania. And now she's with Kansas City. And she was the lead reporter following the Kansas City Chiefs around when they went to the Super Bowl last year. And I had a conversation with her about a year and a half ago, and she was thinking about maybe, hey, should I really stay in the sports industry, or should I branch out and get into more mainstream business? And I kind of encouraged her at that moment to say, hey, look, follow your passion, follow your sports career. And it was great for me to see her kind of go from Rochester to Kansas City, and then, ride the tails of a Super Bowl champion, which was really cool. So, so I'm going to have her come in, talk next Tuesday, and I'm really excited about it. Oh, and one real quick thing before I forget. I also was involved with what's called Startup Summit Rochester. We hosted that event in October of last year, and we had it at the Jiva Theater, and my brother started a chapter down in Raleigh, North Carolina. And the idea was to bring all entrepreneurs, startups, and anybody looking to get into that industry together. We had great panel discussions and great speakers, and we had such overwhelming response, and the sponsors were all there. They all told me they actually had real legitimate business connections. So we're going to do that again in November. We're going to do that out at Spot Cowork, which is a cowork space that I started using. And we have Austin McCord, founder of Datto Corporation, also RIT alumni, as one of the kind of featured keynote speakers. So hopefully coming out of this COVID-19 crisis, we'll be in an environment come November where we could actually get back together again, see real live humans, and be in an environment where we can interact and have panel discussions and breakout sessions and so on and so forth. So more information we post on that. I've also posted that as an event on our Facebook page. So just wanted to mention that before I forgot. That's all.
Awesome, Mark. I'm glad you did mention that. So Washo Biz is where you could find him on Facebook. Make sure you guys check him out to learn more about Mark and to see his podcast as well. Mark, such a pleasure to get to know you, and thank you for your time. I really appreciate you being a part of our show today.
Thank you, Amanda. I really appreciate it. I love what you're doing. I'm a big fan of your show. I've been watching them as well.
Thank you.
And that pool scene, that beachy vibe, it's making me jealous. So do you want me to hang in, or do you want to drop at this moment so you can get on to your other guests?
You're more than welcome to stay. It's totally up to you.
All right, I
But
will mute my line, and I'm just going to hang tight and watch the rest of the
cool.
show. And Amanda, thank you so much. You're doing an amazing job, and I can't wait to see you perform live soon too.
Oh, thank you so much. Great to
Thank
see you
you.
and meet you.
Thank
So I'm gonna, before I bring on my next guest, so we have Charles the Natural Murray, who is logged in with us, and also Dave Herbst, from owner of Geneva Red Wings and strength trainer for Team Murray. Before I bring them on for some conversation, I just want to throw a little shout out to our sponsors. This is season 2 of Afternoon Cocktail, and we've picked up some really awesome sponsors. If you're in need of accepting credit card payments, like electronic merchant systems will give you that local hands-on assistance. Untamed Events, MissRebeccaDodge.com. She will help you with all your party planning needs and any questions regarding the COVID-19 crisis. And shout out to Jewish Senior Life, to all our residents. Cheers and happy Friday. I hope you get outside today and enjoy the beautiful weather. So, Dave Herbst, you there?
Good afternoon. I am here. Good afternoon, Amanda.
Hello, my darling. It's so good to see your face.
Good to see you, Double A. Your
I
nickname of
love it.
the boxing world.
So Charles is here. Charles, did you want to say hi as well? It looks like he's muted and his video is off.
We'll got to get him going for sure. So
We'll get him going.
Yes, we will.
But so Dave, let's talk for a moment. So you've been varsity coach in Section 5 for more than 25 years. And I mean, you're certainly in touch with the athletes, administrators. What issues are you facing in the wake of COVID-19?
I think, Mark, again, real pleasure listening to your speech as well. Thank you for that. Mark touched on it with the mental toughness. From an athlete's point of view and from a coach's point of view, it was very discouraging when the sectional champs weren't able to advance this year in basketball because of high school, because of the COVID-19. And all the spring sports, of course, got canceled. Girls softball, boys baseball, spring track, what have you, all the spring sports, lacrosse. And that was hard on the kids, not because they're looking to play, but this was a chance for them to showcase their skills. Some are on tap to break records that have been around for decades.
Okay.
Stuff like that's been very difficult for them. So the mental part of it was very hard on the high school. It could just be a freshman looking to be on the team for the first time. How exciting is that? So that's been difficult for us. And in the professional world, which Mark deals with as I do well with the champ on board, our fighters have been, we can't get them to do, we can't be with them right now. That's hard, being the strength coach for a few of them. It's very difficult. I can just talk to them on the phone, and they want to get back out. This is their livelihood. This is their job. And it's very difficult.
Yeah.
So,
How did you and Charles link up?
with the athletes,
I mean, get into Team Murray. How did you link up with Charles Murray?
well, it became painfully obvious during my athletic career that I was not going to be on the Baltimore Orioles. So, but I was fortunate enough to play baseball at college and beyond. And one of my managers, said in the off season, get involved with something else to stay sharp, whether it be racquetball, ping pong, whatever. And I fell in love with boxing. Got involved with boxing very strong. Was able to meet and work with Pablo de Jesus, a local middleweight, and did quite well. And of course, I was a big fan of the champ Charles, and got involved with his career, following him along all along the way right through his championship. And then we become close, dear friends. After he retired, and I got to know his wife Kimmy, as I was a math teacher at college, and we've just been good friends ever since. And I've been tight with Charles. I love what he does for the community. I love the way he trains his athletes, whether they're pros, amateurs, people just wanting to learn the sport or get in shape. He treats them all the same, whether they're gonna go for a championship of the world or whether they just want to come and work out with him to get in shape, just to get in shape. So that really endeared me to the world of boxing through the eyes of a world champion like Charles. And so I've been tight with him ever since. And right now I've got a few pro fighters I strength train, and Charles has a long list of people he trains, amateur, pro, and just general people who love the sport. That's my connection with him.
Hey, Charles, I see you there. Hi, how are you?
Good morning. Hey, how you
Thanks.
doing? All right.
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good.
You hear
Good to
me?
see you. got your boy Dave here.
Yes,
All
ma'am, you
right.
too. Yeah, Dave, I
So
see.
so we got Charles Murray, world champion. I mean, it's incredible to have you on our show. Thank you so much for agreeing to do this. And thank you,
Thank
Dave,
you. Very
for the
welcome.
introduction. You know, Dave has really brought us together. I had the honor and privilege of getting my ass whooped by Charles. My abs still hurt thinking about that one workout we had. I could barely move for like 7 days. So, Charles, I mean, you were originally born in New Jersey. When did you plant your feet
No,
in
ma'am.
Rochester?
Here,
Oh,
I came
you.
born here.
I thought I read that you were born
I'm
in
from right.
Jersey.
No, man, no, they lied.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think
I'm from here. Yeah, I'm from here.
they lied. All right. Well, good.
I'm from
I mean,
here.
awesome. Well, so Charles, I mean, so you're born in Rochester. What led you to becoming a fighter?
Destiny, I believe. It's tough to say. I mean, I was going to Montgomery Center one day. They had a boxing match, and I entered. That was it. I was 12 years old.
12 years old. Wow. Do you remember your
Yes,
very first fight? I mean, how many rounds did you go in your very first
that
fight?
was it. One,
Just one?
one,
How many rounds did the opponent go?
Yeah.
one.
That's pretty awesome. I mean, you hold the title of Rochester's only world champion. I mean, how has the Rochester
Yes,
boxing
ma'am. I
scene?
won't be the last.
Yeah, well, not under your
I
watch,
won't
that's
be
for
the
sure.
last. No, ma'am, not at all.
How has the Rochester boxing scene changed since your days of training?
Well, I mean, to me, it really hasn't changed too much other than there's just many more gyms around. But everybody pretty much go to the best of their ability, I'm sure. But I think I'm still the best.
Yeah.
This is how I
So,
think. Yes, ma'am.
so what was it like getting ready for a world champion fight?
Tough.
Yeah.
Tough, very tough. 6 to 7 weeks of isolation. It's easy though. That's how I learned to adapt to the coronavirus. The adaptation was easy. I'm used to it.
Yeah. And I mean, what's a normal day in your life like? I mean, what's your training practices like, and
It's,
from morning to end, you
um,
know?
get up in the morning at 6 o'clock, go run for about 3 to 4 miles, come back, take a break, eat breakfast around 7 or 8, go back to sleep again, go to work at 12 o'clock, go back home, play spades, go to sleep.
Sleeping is
Every
important.
day.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of rest. A
Can
lot of
you?
rest. I play cards a lot.
Yeah. Can
I
you explain
love
it?
spades.
You love
Go ahead.
space. Can you explain
Yes.
the difference between amateur and pro boxing? And I mean, what makes I mean, how was it to make the
Am-
decision to go from amateur to pro for you?
I really trying to go pro. It just happened to me from winning the
Yeah.
nationals, and people it came up to me after I wanted to turn professional. So I never really thought about doing it. I just wanted to win and get trophies and win.
Yeah.
Never really thought about being a professional.
And I mean, what's the difference
It
between
came
the
easy
two?
though.
I mean, with amateur, I mean, I know there's
The difference
headgear,
between
you
the
know,
two is
w-
pain.
it's pain.
Pain is the difference. Yeah. For an average, it's a little bit more for pro. It's for it's a little bit more. It's a little easier in the amateurs than the pros. The pro game is just pain. It hurts.
Well, it hurts
That's
because
where
of like
the mental comes in.
there's less protection involved, right? And isn't
It
it less
hurts.
rounds? Yeah.
Yeah. No matter more rounds. But the amateurs and the pros, it's 3 minutes, 3 rounds, 3 minutes. In the
Okay.
pros, you go up to 12 rounds. If you get up to 12, everybody reach 12 rounds.
Gotcha.
You have to be good to reach 12 rounds.
I mean, what was it? What was
That's
it like?
championship level.
What was it like turning pro? I mean, for
What was
you
what like?
to make that leap. I mean,
Um, it was it was it was exciting. I was a little more excited. I wanted to prove that I belonged there.
yeah,
I
and
wanted
you
to prove
did.
it. I wanted to prove to myself that I was good enough to be there.
Well, I think you accomplished that. That's for sure.
It's very
So
hard.
yeah, I believe it. I mean, from what little I know of boxing and Dave, from what you have taught me, I mean, I know
Yes, very.
it's not easy. It's not easy, and
It was
you know
very
what?
tough.
What impresses me about boxing is I, for as physical of a workout and as physical as the act of the sport is, it is very mental. Like on the mental side of it, you have to be able to think. I mean, you're responding instinctually. I mean, you got to remain very focused. Today's theme is mental
Yeah,
toughness, Charles, and I brought up that theme today in your honor. This is something that you regularly practice, right? That's what you preach.
yes, ma'am.
So, I mean,
Yes.
tell us, I mean, outside of the ring, how do you keep yourself mentally tough during times like now? I mean, our world's in crisis. I mean, all this racial divide. I
Well,
mean, how do you keep yourself mentally strong?
I think about winning.
Think about,
I don't think about winning. It's for the win. Winning in life in general. It's winning. It's like being divided. I never experienced it because um, in sports, it's always love, whether it's white or black. It's always love. So I never really experienced certain things, you know. I I experienced interaction with the police. If I tell the police department, there's some people that like me, some people that don't like me. But it's just part of life. But I get on and that's it. I don't hold no grudges with no one.
yeah.
It's just life.
You you just keep focused on your passion. It seems like your passion probably bring has gotten you through everything in
Yeah.
life, you know. And you're coaching now too. I mean, how much do you love coaching? I
Um,
mean, it's got to be
yes.
it taps into a different side of you for sure. I mean, how important is it to you to coach the next world champion or the second best world champion?
I'm trying really, really, really hard. I know how
Yeah,
tough it is. And so I pass on my experiences and try and give them the blueprint to being a champion. And how the best thing about the hardest part about it is staying a champion. That's the hard part. That's the
yeah,
really hard part. Everybody focused on you. It's tough to stay that way. But that's life too in general. Because boxing to me is life.
yeah.
That's how it makes me stay focused.
So in 2015, I read that Rochester actually declared a day in your honor. They declared Charles
Yes,
Murray Day, and
yes, ma'am.
they gave you that homecoming parade that they totally screwed up on initially. I mean, it took 22 years for them to give you the parade,
Um,
you know, after you won the
well,
title.
well,
What
I
happened? Like,
think
what the heck?
something to me is inexperience. It's just not knowing what to do. And so I don't hold nobody, no bad blood because it's just inexperience
Yeah,
and not never having champion. It's okay. Believe me, it was okay. It wasn't okay, but it was okay. They just didn't know what to do or how to do it. But the city did honor me. I will give them that. I wanted my
as
parade though.
I don't blame you. You deserve that parade, and you got it. They gave
Yeah,
it to you
man,
a little
thank
bit
you.
later. It took them
Yeah,
22 years,
yeah.
but they gave it to you, and I'm glad
All
they
right, it's
did.
okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. I got it. That's all that matters.
I mean, but still, you know, even granted all of that, I mean, pretty cool to know that you're still in the heart of Rochester, even after 22 years, that people are still
Yes,
honoring you, and that respect is still given. And I'm so happy that you were able to receive that, be on the receiving end of
well, I
that.
appreciate it, but I really appreciate though. Willie Lightfoot helped me get it done. The mayor helped me get it done. And I really appreciate the love. I really do. Very
Sure.
appreciated.
So tell us about your gym. So you own a gym called the Natural Boxing and Fitness Center. It's on East Main Street in
Uh,
Rochester.
uh, yeah, actually, right now I'm currently I'm working with the city with Bay Street, Bay Recreation. They renamed it Transaction Center.
And and how has, I mean, how obviously your training's been affected, right? Like with COVID-19. I mean, how are your boxers staying in shape and keeping trained during this time?
Oh well, a lot of people I still keep in contact with them. A lot of people they do a lot of work on their own. A lot of people put the basements, boxing stuff in their basements and do a little running at the tracks and stuff like that. So they're still keeping in shape. I do
Good,
it as well. I do something every day, every day.
good, good. I mean, are you using like platforms like Zoom even to just like train people?
No,
Like,
actually, this is my first time.
oh yeah, okay. Well,
Yeah,
I'm glad we were able to break the seal with that one.
I didn't know my wife had to do it for me. I know had nothing about it. She did it for Ashley, but she did it for me. But I use FaceTime.
Okay, yeah, same difference, you know. I mean, you got a
Yeah.
good wife there, so thank you for helping him out here. You know? So Charles, one last question. Okay, there is in the movie The Fighter with Mark Wahlberg. He played Ward,
Uh-huh.
and in real life, you actually fought Mickey Ward more than once,
Yeah.
correct?
One time.
Yeah.
One time. Did
Yes.
you did you actually see the movie? Did you approve?
Yes, I just seen it recently on, I think it was on HBO. I saw it. But
Yeah.
it was okay. I mean, I couldn't really get into it like that, but I love Mickey, I'm sorry, excuse me. Mickey Ford is a very, very nice person. I like him.
You
Now,
still
but
keep
now
in
we
touch
get
with
ready to
him?
fight. Yeah, now keep in touch with him, no ma'am. But when we cross paths, we have good conversation.
Yeah. That's awesome. So cool.
Now keep in
Well,
mind, Amanda.
Hey, Amanda.
Charles him from end of the ring to end of the ring, and he's still good friends with Mickey Ward. Mickey couldn't
Yeah.
handle Charles. Charles took him from one end of the ring to the other, and he knows Charles is too modest to admit it. He's too modest, but he won that unanimous decision. It wasn't even close.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's part of life.
yeah.
I expected to win. I expect nothing less than winning.
Good.
Well, you
Hey,
guys,
Amanda. Can I ask
yes,
Charles a question real
of
quick?
course. Yeah.
Hey, Charles, it's a privilege and honor to be on a same call with you. But
Well, thank you.
I used to run Marina Auto Stadium, the soccer stadium down in the city, and
Yes.
2 years ago we hosted a showbox event with Big Baby Miller live on
Hmm.
Showtime, which was the only time a live boxing match, I believe, was broadcast on a national platform like that from Rochester, New York. So I was just curious to see if you happen to be at that event or remember that event, or if you had any thoughts
Uh,
about that one. It was really great
I'm not.
experience for all of us.
I'm not too sure if I was on or not. I'm not. I don't think so. I don't know if I went or not. I doubt it. If I have a fight, I really don't attend boxing too much. If I'm not really participating, but I would love to go to anything that you have. Just let me know what's going on. I love to go.
Yeah, it was a great experience for all of us at the stadium. So we really enjoyed putting that event on, and it was really well attended. So there's
Well,
definitely an appetite for boxing in Rochester. That's for sure.
no doubt.
Thanks.
I love, oh, no problem. Thanks for the question. I love boxing. Like to be honest, like I'm a music and art dork. I'm not
I
really,
wait for you to work out again.
you want to train me again?
Yes,
Because
ma'am. You ready?
I'm ready. I still got my boxing gloves. They've been hanging for a while, but I'm up for it,
But they
Charles.
all say, that.
I'm ready to, punch. I got some punches left in me, that's for sure.
Okay, well, I'm ready to work. Sis, let me know I'm ready.
I love it. Charles, thank you so much. Dave, thank you so much. Mark, thank
Thank you.
you guys for
Very
giving me
welcome.
your time today. I adore all three of you. And it's really been such a pleasure. I hope you guys, keep mentally sane and mentally tough throughout all of this and keep focused and being the stars that you are. I'm going to
Yes,
leave
ma'am.
off our audience with some closing out words. Over the last 10 days, we've seen well meaning, peaceful protests held for George Floyd infiltrated by people who are using it as an excuse to riot, to steal, and commit vicious, violent acts. Life as of lately has been a lot to take in. As if COVID 19 and a health pandemic wasn't enough, the division of politics, race, the worry about our physical safety, our job security, and financial situation, it feels like every day there's a new problem. Things may be awful, but that doesn't mean you have to feel awful. Control how you view, process, and react to events. You need to find the mental fortitude to think of positive solutions to make things better. Here's a few ways how. One, try to put aside your negative thoughts. We're constantly overwhelmed with bad news lately. The negativity can be debilitating. So while it's not easy to tune out the noise, focus on what you want to achieve in your life and your career. Number two, stop caring about failing. You'll need to make your own breaks in life. So keep in mind, the more you try to achieve something, the greater amount of times you'll fail. You're gonna fall down. Like one of my friends is like, Amanda, you're always juggling a few, glass bottles. And I said, the one thing with everything I've ever tried, it's, I'm not afraid to have one of those glass bottles shatter and break before me. It's all about picking up those pieces and carrying on and moving forward and figuring out ways to be better, to get better and stronger. Number three, you can't take life personally. Mentally tough folks don't take the obstacles, the setbacks, and hurdles personally. They recognize that it's all part of the game that we're all playing. Number four, avoid getting into arguments with strangers on social media. This is so huge. It's a no-win proposition. Your blood pressure rises, you get aggravated, and nothing gets accomplished. There's the risk of saying something inappropriate that could later come back and haunt you. Just don't do it. Stay away from it. Avoid getting roped into petty nonsense. Fostering negativity and negative energy won't allow you to focus on what truly matters. Number five, learn to say no. This is a hard one, all right? You only have so much time in the day and only so much time and energy, and need to be discerning in how you allocate precious moments of your life. When something doesn't fit into your life plan and long-term goals, have the courage to politely turn it down. We only are granted so much time, and time is the most valuable thing that cannot be bought back. We're all subjected to constant pressures that could break us. So by working on building your mental strength, you'll be able to have better clarity, better focus, less stress, and ability to pursue and achieve your goals with a clear mind. With that being said, cheers, you guys. I wish you an amazing weekend. You all keep mentally strong and tough throughout these times. Things hopefully will get better. And, before I leave, I have to give a shout out to Boya Productions, again to our sponsors, Electronic Merchant Systems, Untamed Events, and Jewish Senior Living. I'm sorry. Thank you to all our Patreon sponsors. If you're interested in supporting our show or in being a Patreon sponsor, make sure you go to patreon.com/afternoon cocktail talk show. And you guys have a really awesome weekend and take good care of yourselves. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Bye.